come on. Hey, feel the rhythm. It's getting from the deepest of your soul. Now, use your senses, and everything will be easier than before. Keep on moving, funk is coming. Let yourself be, you'll become the star in this die. Spread your wings, fly to me, funk is coming.
Okay, so here we are, Mr. Dragnauct Silvas. I mean, there's some people which don't know about, why you got this, stupid nickname. Just give us the short version, because I think I know that already.
So short version, the name is just the moniker is from me being a gamer, and so I use that name uniquely so that no one else takes my name in a game. I just so happen to have made a YouTube channel using that because I didn't want to obviously put up my real name, so I just been going by Dragnaught or Drag, and the name Dragnaught is a portmanteau between the words dragon and dreadnought, and so that's how I came up with that name essentially.
Nice. Okay, so listen, man. I have some questions, and then we see how we go from there. Again, the conversation flows. So, but the first one I want to ask you is that I don't want to make you blush because that would be hard. But in a way, I got to say that among all the persons that I've known on G Plus, for all the thing, you might be a good poster boy for personal growth because I mean, let's be super real. When you went in the scene, you were kind of wet behind your ears. I think that's what you say around there.
Yeah, that adage is definitely applicable to the point that I just sort of keep my old videos up just so people can kind of see the progression. And even when the infamous video pops up, and I always get the question, Drag, why does the cowardice of G-Man keep popping up in my feed? And I still to this day have no idea. But just I sometimes go back because it pops up in my feed, and I watch it. I'm just like, Jesus, it's just
Right.
this is bad.
Right, but other than that, I mean, also, and again, you stop me if I go too far, but also on a personal level, I mean,
Yeah.
at the time, I mean, of course you're a combat medic. I mean, everybody fucking knows that. I just want to remind everybody because I was going to do that. I'll probably put it in the title, by the way. So, I mean, no, really. I mean, you grew up. You went to school. You studied. Now you're in a lab. I, do you want to talk a bit about that? Because I don't think that people really appreciate the effort behind it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's something that we talk about sort of privately, but I think for myself it's even surprising because I went from just a lower enlisted in the army who didn't even honestly know who he was or what he wanted out of life, to appearing on the Magic Sandwich Show, and then somehow magically now DPR Jones hands me the fucking show because he's, I guess, so impressed with how far I've gone. But it has been a wild ride. It definitely has been, and I credit that for being able to sort of operate in an area where I felt uncomfortable the vast majority of the time. So a lot of G plus, I kind of felt like a fish out of water. I felt like I was, because I was a new guy. I just like people are having these conversations on different platforms, and now this platform, and so I'm being encouraged to participate. But I have little to nothing to offer, and to sort of now go through the gauntlet with Nadia hangouts and just all the open streams and stuff. It took a lot, and a part of that I credit to people like yourself, Sam, and many others that sort of helped shape the person that I am now, because it takes a lot going from knowing next to fucking nothing to being able to sort of field difficult questions in not only the debate arena, but also in a scientific sense, because it doesn't come overnight. People have sort of this idea that you can just be curious and confident, and you can just magically acquire knowledge and skill. But no, it takes a lot of being out of your element, being forced to sort of see things from a different perspective, and to practice. And this is a big lesson: patience. A lot of patience, and being able to sort of be more charitable to people, even folks that you might necessarily not like.
So I think that brings me to the next question, which I wrote down. It's really funny. This really. So there is one thing which has always, puzzled me, honestly. And I mean, I want to be super real with you. I know that they call you to speak, for other people and in shows and stuff like that. But, among a certain group of people, and mostly because of what you do, you're mostly known, for dealing with, fringe characters. I will deal with that later, so I don't want to delve into that. Now, my question would be, what the fuck do you talk about, in other shows? Because really, I mean, I haven't seen that, so I have no fucking idea. I don't even know why the fuck they call you, to be honest. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, which, is puzzled by that.
Yeah, no, and because it's like you see what I do on my channel, and it's like, well, why the fuck would people want to like? It's
Right.
so what I have to lean heavily in sort of my fascination with younger creationists, and so the vast majority of the time, even like the offer that I have to go to speak at a conference later this year, it is tailored around addressing the stuff from like guys like Kent Hovind mostly, and then some of the more common characters around these debate circuits, like was it Artangelo, and people like that. So the philosophy heads like Dark Dawkins, people, other folks who are more adept in fucking theology and philosophy, they handle him. But for people who are just doing like the Rocket Ronnie kind of just random, science jargon here and there and all that bullshit, that's sort of my area, and I tackle that. And so people want to get my opinion on how can a non-science head address these sort of claims. And so what I do is I try to bridge that gap where even lay atheists and lay agnostics can address scientific claims made from younger creationists.
So, okay, yeah, I understand that. And, obviously you're, a science man by trade. I mean, I'm using that in the most loose term. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that, what brings food to your table is,
Yeah.
obviously your lab work and stuff like that. And do you think, so I understand that your perception might be skewed, but I want to ask you this question anyway. How do you see the situation of science in the US? I mean, do you think there is a decline in the popular conception about science? I would say I wouldn't use the word faith, but do you think that people rely less on that? And if yes, why? According to you, I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that sentiments towards science have been sort of declining for quite some time now. We've always sort of had this anti-intellectual sort of thread going around, but in recent years, especially during this time of a pandemic, where you would think that science would be very useful in this case, it's actually been a detriment. People who have degrees and have years of experience are looked upon with scorn and even shunned. And it's a very interesting dynamic, and I can't really put my finger on it other than the political divisiveness has sort of spread over into our culture, as if being ignorant and being anti-science was a strength. And I think that because that's become popular on the political landscape, that it hurts uh, any sort of effort that we'll make or try to make in academia to encourage more people to go into these fields. Because I'll just use him as an example, Dr. Fauci. is a PhD MD, right? You and I both know someone that also has that sort of education, and we accept his word is not gospel, right? But he's very knowledgeable. He's put in the work. In the U.S., someone like Dr. Fauci is just looked upon as just this indoctrinated motherfucker because he's got all these degrees. Obviously, he can't think outside the box, which is the furthest from the truth. So it is disconcerting, I will say, because I have people like that in my own family, and it's hard to sort of get inside their head. But a lot of it, I think, has to do just with their personal insecurities.
And what would be your approach to somebody that, for example, came to you and tell you, yeah, I think, this vaccine is experimental, stuff like that. How would you approach a person like that?
That's actually a good question. So I have to take a page out of Maudy's book for this.
Holy shit,
Because
now Jesus Christ. I mean, we can't get fucking rid of the guy. Jesus Christ. Okay.
Can you tell I've been watching a few episodes?
Fuck me. Okay, go
I
ahead.
have to credit Mount. I know. We don't give him credit.
No,
We only
you
not will say his
don't. You
name.
don't. I mean, his ego is big enough. You don't have to.
I know.
So.
But this is true. So instead of me just trying to shoehorn in the knowledge that they don't have, I want to find out where the disconnect is. So I allow them to teach me what they know, how they got to their conclusions, and then when I figure out, where the disconnect is, I go, okay, so how normally do we go about such and such process when it's not a pandemic? Okay, you don't know that? Well, let's find out. Let's learn together. And so if this person is receptive to this process, then I'll invest time in trying to talk to them, understand them, and educate them. If they're just absolutely just spitting talking points, then I know that I'm wasting my time. And so the conversation can go any number of directions. But hopefully, the former scenario is what I end up encountering more often than not, and to a pretty good result. People then are pretty receptive, and I think that I have to credit him because my approach many years ago when I first got on this platform was just to sort of just throw the evidence at them and then chastise them for not accepting it because I'm me.
Yeah, I understand that. So you say that you would mostly listen to the guy and try to to feel what their arguments are and stuff like that. But how would you react to something? Okay, let's say a bit more specific. The example I made before. I'm not going to get a vaccine because it is experimental. How do you explain to somebody what really is an experimental vaccine or not, and why this is not?
Right. So the way that I would approach them with that is to say, look, every medical intervention that you've ever had has gone through the same sort of trials, right? And so these particular vaccines have been vetted not only by the companies that are making them, like the manufacturers, but also the data that they use for these vaccines have been vetted across labs all across the world. So if you're concerned that these vaccines are what you call experimental, consider that there's thousands of people who have gone through these trials before you in order for us to determine the effectiveness of it. So the experiment is already been done, in a sense. So you're not a part of any experiment. You're not taking something that's experimental. You're taking something that's already been tried and tested. And so we would not be able to know the effectiveness if it had not already been in the experimental phase. So what you then are now repeating is just misinformation. And so based on their response, we can go in another direction. But I know that they're repeating talking points, but I have to sort of try and walk them through that process and not inundate them with like the minutia of vaccine manufacturing.
Oh, I see. So, okay, let me change subject. Your life in the military. I know. It has been, something that, well, I would say we made fun of you, but at a certain point, the combat medic was just, a thing, right? So, I'm really interested. If you want to talk about it. So first of all, I don't know when you were enrolled. What is your recollection of that moment? Because I think it was My feeling, when you were talking about that, was that it was quite a topic moment in your life. It was something which, in a way, it shaped you in a way. So I'm really curious because that is not my experience. What is your recollection about it? If you would suggest it to somebody right now, I mean today, so the difference between when you went and today, and what were the pros and cons in your experience?
Right. That's actually a pretty good question. So
I know
if
I'm
anyone's
good,
ever
right?
thinking about it's, so I would say for one thing, like college, the military is not for everybody. If you're going to join the military, being a combat medic puts you at a pretty good position. If you're trying to get promoted fast, don't become a combat medic. If you want something that you can use on the outside world and the real civilian world, then yes, be a combat medic. My decision making process about becoming a combat medic was okay. I'm at what we call MEPS. It's the processing station for you to initially get into the military, all the paperwork and all that shit. Uh, they sit you down in front of someone who's already in the military, and you're at a computer, and they tell you, okay, based on your scores, you have this list of jobs. These jobs have bonuses; these don't. And so, since I had a lot of student loan debt, I couldn't get a top secret security clearance, so that cut my list way down. Uh, as they were reading off the list, they said, "Well, you could combat medic," and I like, you know what? That sounds sexy. That's awesome. I want to do that. And this was literally my response was that sounds cool. Let me do that. And so that is what, yes, that is how I became a combat
This is
medic.
where they dragged you in, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That was
Yeah.
it. It sounds it's like cool combat medic, right? And so
Fuck
it's
me, right? Yeah.
yeah, that's Doc. It is a jarring experience because they have to desensitize you, and the desensitization process kind of leaves you hollow. There's definitely people who are not the same afterwards because if you're a medic, then you're going to have to be used to seeing gore and guts and that sort of thing. And so during the whiskey phase, the second phase of your training, you're shown just grotesque images and videos every single day for quite some time, and so you get used to seeing it, and then you learn the motto, which is "trauma is sexy." And so you will never forget these images. You'll never forget that. You'll never forget, some of the things that they try to prepare you for. But after training, I noticed that my function in the greater role of the army was a very vital one. The movie Restrepo is a pretty good example of that. If anyone's interested, the medic is not only in charge of people's medical health but also morale. People get really attached to the medic because this is doc. This guy's going to take care of you. This guy's literally going to save your life. If your medic dies, the whole morale of your unit goes down because of that bond. Like you can lose the infantryman, he can be replaced. It's sad, but your combat effectiveness, right? Your chances of survival drop dramatically without a medic, and so that plays a role into it. And so, if you want to be valued, if you want to have some sense of pride, be a medic. But I would say medics aren't looked upon that favorably when it comes to non-combat scenarios because we kind of have a reputation of fucking people's wives. That's a lot of people. A lot of
That's
people outside of the
interesting.
military don't know that.
Wow.
Yeah, we're yes, we are the degenerates of the military. If I know military people are degenerates, but the degenerates of we are degenerates squared, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
we have
interesting.
very.
So fuck the fighter pilots, right? I mean, so yeah, go combat
I
medic.
mean, they're cool too, but
Yeah.
medics fuck their wives. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
like you can
Okay. That's
cool,
fair enough.
you can fly, cool, you can be a fighter. All right, cool. The
Right.
medic's still gonna fuck your wife, and so that's what we're known for. And yeah, it's quite funny.
Would you suggest that experience now in these days as compared to when you enrolled?
I would definitely. I would definitely recommend it. Yeah, even now, the experience that you get as a medic, you will never forget, and it still sticks with me. Being valued by other people, having skills that are marketable across many different arenas. I would definitely so yeah.
So there is another thing, and I'm sorry, but to me it's really interesting because it's kind of an alien word, especially especially because of the question I'm going to ask you right now. The one of the things which is really fascinating to me as an European, because I mean we see some stuff. It's like we understand the words, we don't get the concept. Sometimes there is a really big, I would say the word fascination, for lack of a better term, and just bear with me, with the veteran status in the US, which is something that we usually do not have. And I would go on and say the way that is, developed in the US is pretty peculiar to the US. Why the fuck is that?
It's really weird from my perspective too, honestly.
I know. But
I'm trying to think of a way to describe it. So there's almost this it's an unspoken rule that you just sort of pick up from other people's behavior, right? And you've probably seen this in a lot of live chats too, especially for people who don't know that I've served or any of us have served. You'll see, oh, thank you for your service. Oh, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
And I have to tell people, oh, thank you, please don't do that. But it's just one of those cultural things where service members are looked upon almost as demigods, depending on where you are, especially here in Texas. Oh yeah, you're doing, like, I get it. We have done something that a lot of people won't do, but so have doctors, right? so have scientists, right? So there's so many people that will do all these different things that no one else can do, but because you put on this uniform and you perform this job, you somehow are like the creme de la creme. And it is absolutely sort of staggering the lengths that people will go through in order to sort of live up to that hype. And I think that it's nice to acknowledge people who serve your country, but the people take it too far. They really, really take it too far. And I honestly kind of wish it would stop because it becomes annoying. And I think that, like I said, scientists, doctors, educators, nurses, they deserve praise because they help keep the country running. We'll defend it, but the people who are back home helping to educate and keep people alive and smart deserve all the fucking credit.
Right. I mean, you got to fight for something, right? I mean, if you're fighting for a shithole, it's not really, you're not really making a big, I mean, you're making a big effort, but it's worth really nothing,
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. So, my last question to you, because, I want to keep it, tight and tidy, like Christopher Marty's asshole. Well, I mean, that's something he said. So, I mean, fuck the guy. You managed to build a really interesting community around you. I guess my question would be, how?
I wish I could answer that.
Well,
I don't know. Look, I've told people, I've told Xavier, you see me, interact with Xavier. He found me through my channel, and I'm just like, well, this wasn't recorded. I was like, why? Like, why do people watch me? I have no idea.
Because, okay, so I'm sorry to interrupt you. I never do that, but I got to interrupt you right now because I really have to push you on that. If I were to be a cunt right now, I would tell you not only how, but I would tell you, listen, man, I don't know how the fuck you do that, but you're so overrated. Which I don't think, but some people would do that because it is, and you know what? It is kind of a legit question, I mean, we've known each other. You know where I'm coming from. You know why I asked that question. So yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm right there with you. Like I blow smoke up my own ass all the time. But it's in all honesty, and just so people know, Mrs. Drag shares your opinion. Absolute 100%.
Well, it's not my opinion. I'm just being a cunt. Well, if she does, she's a cunt. Which I don't. I've never say that. At least not in their face. You know, so.
But she may agree with that too. But it's
Okay, fair enough.
I so so from what I gather, right? Because it's just like I'm just saying something. I'm giving my opinion, and people find it hilarious. I know certain things that I say, certain phrases that I have, and the way that I depict things. That's funny to people, and I can understand that. So the emails that I get and the people that I've spoken to behind the scenes, they say that they watch me because the people that I cover are in such dire straits that it's really cathartic for them. And so, and I understand that. Just like, this person who's watching may be fat, they may be, not that educated, but they're not Shanny, right? They're not Rev, like they're not that fat and that uneducated. So, being that they want to know more about how fucked up these people are, but they can't listen to them, they need a filter. I'm that filter. And so, if I'm offering I'm the comedic relief here and the filter to make them more tolerable, they get that catharsis and they get to laugh a bit. And so somehow I managed to make over $1,000 a month from doing that. And
Yeah, I mean, it's insane because you do that
it is.
without buying views, so which is fuck me.
Yeah, I just I
Yeah,
but
that was a cheap shot, to someone, but
yeah.
regardless.
Oh no, I no you no you
No,
you
yeah,
tell the
yeah,
lies.
yeah. Okay, so we listen. We are going down, man. So we are approaching the last segment of our conversation. This is the part where I've asked you, like all the other people, to send me 3 questions that you want me to ask you. So those are the 3 questions in the order that you send me. The first one is, what are your most memorable G Plus moments?
The most memorable G plus. And see, I sat and thought about this for a while, and I can't. I'm not sure if I could pick one moment, but I think when G Man got so pissed off at me that he called the fucking police on me and we laughed at him live. And then he turned it on and heard all of us laughing at him and he raged to the point that he was crying. That by far I will never forget.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I'm fucked up, but yeah.
Yeah. So the second question is, what's your favorite lol cow and why? And let me add to that question. What is your fascinations with lol cows?
Okay, so my fascination with lolcows have to be the fact that they don't really learn from their mistakes, and all of them have this common thread of sort of none of them are introspective. None of them are self-aware enough to know that their behavior is sort of what propels their problems in real life and on the internet. So that's really what my fascination with a lolcow in general. But I would say uh, I would say Rev Jason Egroff has to be my favorite. It was either him or Emo, but Jason, because I have so much history with him, not as much as G Man, but because this man has offered me to come fuck his wife in front of him, and then will turn around on the internet and pretend like he hates me. I have to tell you, I can, and I'm not making this shit up, Fabio. You know that you've seen the evidence. You've been there. I I
Well,
cannot
I haven't been
allow.
there. I saw the evidence.
We've seen these people's porn.
Yeah.
Like there's just so much there. It goes so deep and it's so personal too. Like the racial aspects aside, like just how personal a lot of this stuff is, and just to his delusion specifically, I have to say, Jason is my number one. He is my favorite. I just want to put him in my pocket, carry him around, just for the salt.
Listen, before going to the third question, I've got to ask you a follow up. And again, this is the bastard in me asking you this question. Have you ever thought that you might be part of that problem?
Yes. Oh no, I absolutely am a part of that cycle and instigated to a certain degree too. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I hold some sort of moral high ground over the people that I review, because in a way, a lot of their worst habits are reflected in my own. Like I could be less petty, and they might be less pissed off, and then wouldn't generate me as much content. And this is me absolutely tacitly admitting that I fuck with them to generate content.
Fuck me. I mean, I love you, man. So third question, and I'm sorry I just interrupted the flow. So the
No,
third
you're fine.
question
You're
that
fine.
you sent me is, what have you learned over the last 6 years on YouTube?
I've definitely learned that you can't surround yourself with a bunch of collars and enablers if you want to grow. There's no way that you can tell people that you're doing anything or making any progress in your life if the people around you are only there to kiss your ass and affirm you. I've seen far too many people on different walks of life, from folks over in New Jersey to folks over in fucking California, to all from all over, right? Who just sit and want to smell their own farts and sit in a fucking circle jerk, but proclaim as though that they're curious enough to tackle the world. And I think that no amount of curiosity and no amount of studying online is going to get you really to where you need to be self-sufficient, to be an adult, and to be happy, healthy, and prosperous.
So, I mean, this is not what you would get from somebody who watches YouTube.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really. So on one hand, you build a community, right? And on the other one, you say, yeah, I mean, people which are on YouTube are basically, well, no, sorry, let me rephrase that. Uh, the way, to build a community is not the way that you would get from watching YouTube videos.
Yeah, it's
It's,
it's
yeah.
yeah, it's almost so it's the standards that let me stop like externalizing this. A
Mhm.
lot of the shit that I suggest for the law cows um, could definitely fit for myself and other people who watch them. Uh, and it's if we all want to be doing better in life, we probably shouldn't be sitting here staring at each other and
Right,
and having stupid ass opinions back and forth, right? So
right.
that's the irony. As much as we draw our ire towards other people, this shit applies to us just as well, just as easily.
So would it be fair to say that I mean, you can cover the most ridiculous aspects of of people on the internet, on YouTube specifically, but you still have to have some proper grounds on reality, and if you have them, you can either be like a, well, I use the word buffoon, like, I mean, a jester, right, on YouTube, and that will not affect reality. And the problem comes, when the roles are switched. You know, you being the jester on YouTube makes you, an idiot in real life.
Yeah, yeah, and that's something that I've even sort of uh, thought about myself. Like, just sort of sit back and go, at what point am I sort of reflecting a lot of the behavior that I'm pointing out in
Right.
my real life? Am I emulating the people that I talk about? And so that's one of the reasons that I've actually sort of sat down and said, you know what, maybe I need to actually go back to therapy. Instead of me just sort of talking about it and talking about this person not doing this and not doing that. Um, I'm over here laughing, they're over here laughing, and where's the actual difference? The actual difference is the effort that you make in real life to try and be a better person. So
Right.
that's
Because
that's yeah.
yeah, because that's the point I was hinting to. It's I think it's a very dangerous and slippery slope unless you're really firm and strong in what your life is. Unless you're pretty much grounded, it's really dangerous to go there. Because views. I mean, you realize that. I mean, once you start acting like again, like a jester, and pointing people out, you see the views rising, and say, okay, I mean that's a fast way, but I mean, and it is a fast way, but it's not a good way for your normal life. So, what I'm guessing is that you're living this, well, I would say contradiction, every moment, and it must put some strain on you, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that that's part of the reason why I've had to take a step back because and a couple of people sort of approached me a while back and going, you're getting really invested into like back when I was doing G-Man stuff. That
Yeah.
I'm getting really invested and spending a whole lot of time doing this, and they were right. They were absolutely right, and that's sort of why I have to sort of watch myself and take any of this stuff in meter doses. How often or how much can you dwell in this muck before you yourself become a part of it? And that is something I think any content creator, especially ones that have consistent or persistent topics that they cover, will have to sort of face at some point because it seems as though that's a common thing that happens no matter what people cover. If they're covering fat chicks or whether they're covering, some other lol cow, that all of us run that risk because there's something enticing about this platform and social media in general where the attention that you get will definitely start to affect you. And again, I'm no stranger to that. Absolutely. D-Roy Cruz, as an example, uh, had it happen to him where I was making videos towards him, and there's something in your mind that clicks as a content creator when people start making videos about you that it's a bit of anxiety and there's a bit of a rush, and so you get wrapped up into this weird cycle where you're dreading that, but then you're also yearning for it, and so you do things to sort of perpetuate that cycle, and getting out of that can be very, very difficult. And I actually had to take like a four, yeah, I think it was like a 4 month break when I had that happen many, many years ago. And so now I'm receptive to people sort of saying, "Hey, Drag, hey, you might be getting a little bit too much, man. It's I think you're moving a little bit too far over the edge." And I appreciate that kind of stuff because it is hard to see it when you're amped up and you're ready, and it's like, you know what, I can do this. It'll be fun. It'll be enjoyable, but you will lose track of things that matter because underlying mental issue maybe, or it's just fun. You just get caught up in it.
And it's important to be surrounded by people which can eventually, pull you off, right? I mean, tell
Yes,
you
yeah,
things that they are. Okay, brother, it has been an absolute pleasure, really. I mean, that made my day. Thank you very much for, for spending some time with me. Thank
of
you very
course.
much for your answers. And yeah, I mean, we'll see later on. But again, I can express my gratitude enough, for you being there. It has been fantastic, and I hope that some people will know you a little bit differently, from your I would say YouTube persona. I mean, there is a big black dude, behind all the blah blah blah, all the all the
All the
fun.
fancy music videos and all the bluster. Yeah, oh no, absolutely. And I would encourage folks that sort of, yeah, if you want to just challenge me on something that I've said, or just come and shoot the shit. Either way, I actually miss having conversations with people and not just drawing my ire at idiots on the internet.
Right. So before you go, of course, you have a Discord server where all the apparently all the crazy schemes on the internet happen towards some other
Oh yeah.
persons, and you have a YouTube channel. If you, I mean, I will put it in the description eventually if I remember, because fuck me, I got Alzheimer. But people will find you anyway. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
they
you very
just type
much.
in Dragnaught on a platform and you'll find me.
Okay. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Cheers. Ciao,
That's
ciao.
fun.
If I didn't care more than words can say, if I didn't care, would I feel this way?